have you on the show, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Written for Chet Atkins, Mr. Guitar?
Yeah. When in the mid-90s, I had been over to Nashville. I was living in Melbourne, Australia, and I'd been over to Nashville to visit with Chet and for us to get to know each other a lot better. And when we worked together, some live gigs and things. And then I did a showcase at a place called the Ace of Clubs in Nashville. And Chet came down with the guys from the record company because we were signed to Sony Columbia. And they had never seen a live show of mine. So they came down and as Chet said, they were suitably underwhelmed. They had a good time. And anyway, about a week later, I got a call from Chet saying, well, these Columbia people think we should work together and they'd love for us to record an album. Would you like to do that? You know, and I said, is there a mustache in Mexico? Are you kidding me? And so when I put the phone down, I wrote that song immediately. I had that melody in my head, and I had the title, Mr. Guitar, for quite some time, because that was Chet's kind of nickname, wasn't it? Whenever they introduced, here he is, Mr. Guitar, Chet Atkins. And I looked at other people's albums, like Jerry Reed and people like that. I looked at their albums to see if anybody had used that title. And I never saw anybody with that title, so I said, I'm going to write that.
And the album was when Guitar Pickers...
Yeah, the day Finger Pickers took over the world.
It's a cartoon.
Well, that was my idea, actually. I said it should look like one of those superhero comics where the giant guys are towering over the city, you know, like the Incredible, Amazing Giant Woman poster. Well, I wanted the same kind of idea, and then Chet wanted to have, like, Betty Boop saying, doing that thing, you know.
Yeah, right.
So we got a guy, actually his name was Buck Rogers, would you believe? I don't know if that was his real name. But he drew it, and we both liked it. You know.
Maybe a movie will come out of that. You never know.
Well, you know, the only sad thing about the whole thing is that the record company was so excited for us because it was going to relaunch Chet's career, this project, and it was going to introduce me to America. And so it was going to be a very exciting time. We hired a publicist. We had got ourselves on Jay Leno and Letterman and all the TV shows across America. But Chet, unfortunately, they discovered that he had a brain cancer, and we had to cancel everything. And then once they gave him the radiation and operated on his brain, his motor skills just fell away. And then he passed in 2001.
There's a great story about how you first were introduced to Chet as a child. So tell me that.
Well, I was about 7 years old, and we were touring constantly. Seven, yeah. I'd been a professional for a couple of years by then. I was a veteran by 7.
Let's back up for a second. You started at 4.
Yeah.
And your mother taught you.
Yeah, my mum showed me how to play chords and how to understand a song. I learned to play the guitar through songs, you know, and my brother and I trained our ear. We would listen to the radio, and my brother would say, that's A to D, that's B minor, and we're listening. We already had an idea of relative pitch.
And that's between 4 and 5?
Yeah, we were little, and we learned everything by...
That's Phil.
That's my brother Phil.
Right.
He was older than me. He still is older than me. And he always will be. But we taught ourselves to listen to a song on the radio and work it out. It's a skill that we taught ourselves. And I still use that skill, you know, because I don't read music. I play everything by ear. But I was traveling along in the car with my father, and I was holding a coat hanger with a piece of wire going down to the old radio, and I was the aerial, and I was moving it around. Anyway, I heard this... what a great melody, you know, simple, isn't it, and beautiful. I heard that, and I had one of those epiphanies where when you're young, you don't know what it is that you're listening to, but you know that's what you have to do. Whatever that is, that's what you got to do. And I knew it. And that my life course was set.
That was your destiny.
You know? And you know, the other thing is, when I got to know Chet really well, we had a conversation one day about his childhood, and he told me the same story. He said, I was 10 years old, living on a farm in Columbus, Georgia with my father and my stepmother, and I tuned in the radio and I heard Merle Travis, and I said, that's what I want to do, right there. And he said to me, if it wasn't for Merle Travis, I'm sure I'd be staring at the rear end of a mule on a plow or something, working on a farm. Because Merle Travis changed his life, as he changed my life.
Yes, yes. And you sent him a cassette, correct, at the time?
Some friends of mine did.
They did?
Yeah, they sent him a tape without telling me. Of me just playing, just playing in their lounge room, playing a few tunes. I was playing stuff like... stuff. I worked it all out and stole it all from Chet.
That's amazing.
And I'm sitting there playing it. And anyway, they sent the tape to it. And I get this handwritten letter out of the blue saying, I got your tape. And I'm going, what tape? You know, I got your tape and I'm really impressed. It's like, wow, my heroes, you know. And then he wrote me another letter inviting me to come to Nashville, and here's my office number. Call me and we'll get together. So I was 18 at that time, and I had no money, and I was working like a slave to try and get by, because I was living in Sydney, and it was expensive, and I was renting a little flat, and it was so small, the mice had hunchback. But anyway, so
I like that here in New York.
That's right. I saved, and 7 years later, I made it to Nashville, and I met him. And you know when you listen to somebody so intently and you read articles about them, you look at their photo on their album, you really feel like you know them. And when I met him, I did know him.
Yes.
He was the guy
Yes.
I thought he was.
Yes, yes.
And it taught me a great lesson. It taught me that you can't separate who you are from your music. The two are the same thing. So when I play, this is me on the inside, you know. And so it was a dream come true from a boy from down under.
Now, didn't you call your mother on the airplane after the recording I read and told her about it?
Oh yeah. I said, I've just been to Nashville and Chet has played on my album. And she said, oh, that's so wonderful. I can't wait to hear it. But all my life, every time I said something like, I'm going to play my guitar all around the world, I'm going to meet Chet Atkins, but my mother was like, I bet you will.
Oh,
you
really?
will. Oh, I bet you will.
Affirmation.
She had no doubt in her mind that I would do it.
Yeah. And mothers know.
And my mother always believed in me in such a real way, not just, look how proud I am of my son, any of that stuff. It was, she really knew I had something going on, and that I was ready to go out and take on the world. She let me go to New Zealand on my own when I was 15. I went on a bus trip, and because I wanted to see New Zealand. I saved up the money from mowing lawns and stuff, and I went there, and my mother let me go. She knew I was responsible, and she raised me, So it wasn't until later that I went mad.
Would you play another?
Oh, absolutely. Let me play a little Blue Moon for you. This is a classic song that I love, and I came up with this arrangement when I started listening to jazz, and I loved how the bass moved around and how the piano played the chords on this. So I started to try and emulate that.
Pretty much a 1/6
Yeah. So I got the bass moving right. petty theft.
I hear all this blues thrown in as well.
Oh yeah, I
So
love the blues.
you had other influences
Definitely.
besides Chet?
Oh, definitely. One of the first two big influences on me were James Burton and Dwayne Eddy, and then Eric Clapton. B.B. King in the 70s was mind-blowing. I love B.B. at his heyday in the 70s was.
And you're in Australia at this point.
Yeah. I didn't know anything about it. In fact, when I first heard blues music, I didn't really get it. I was too young and too sheltered. I led too sheltered life in this family I was in. And so when I heard blues, I was like, well, he's not playing much, sort of thing. Because we equated when we were kids, if anyone played a song that was pretty hard to play, then he was a good player. But we didn't get the whole he's saying everything with one note thing until I kind of grew up, And then I discovered the power of people like B.B. King and Eric Clapton. And I heard their simple approach, but it was so powerful. And that's when I really fell in love with the blues. And then, thankfully, Stevie Ray Vaughan came along and showed the world what is possible in that style. And took the music and the style of Albert King, Freddie King, and those guys, and showed the world that, and he did an amazing job. I loved what Stevie Ray Vaughan did.
And there's a great story, the first Austin City Limits he did. He was actually scared to death when he came out, I heard, to do that. He had no confidence in himself.
Right.
And then the second time he came back to do that, he had set the world on fire.
Oh, absolutely.
And did so much like B.B. B.B. said you had to be a good chef. It's like being in the kitchen and being a great chef with a few notes.
Yeah, exactly.
So you do that.
That's right. Yeah. Because sometimes I'll use that principle of just playing a few things. Like when I play a guitar boogie, right, which is a pretty popular song in my show. People love to hear it because they love boogie woogie and all that sort of stuff. But there are parts of it where I break it down and I'll try to play like blues phrasing while keeping the groove going. Okay. So that you're going. So it's a 12 bar. Yeah, I've got that groove going now. So I'm using blues principles and ideas.
Yes, you are, but you're going way past that. I hear this advanced jazz phrasing and Pat Martino and those type of players.
Well, those guys, they play like scientific geniuses. And I'm always looking for something fun and musical and almost like a big band sound when I'm playing. try to keep building ideas.
Yeah. The blues is such an essential element.
Oh, it is.
It really is. And you can tell the players that miss that element in their playing, the more academic players.
Yeah.
But you really need that. And I think people relate to that more.
Oh, absolutely. Well, you go back and listen to Where's Montgomery.
Yeah.
It was when I discovered Where's Montgomery, it changed my whole life. And then along came George Benson and just blew our minds.
Just crazy.
Oh, my God. George.
Well, Wes was great for taking a blues and expanding it beyond the 12 bars to make it 16 bars, and then it was a blues, but it was confusing. And same with Monk and people like that. Who else were some of your influences?
Oh, influences. Well, during the 60s, I listened to the Beatles, although I wasn't big into them until later for some reason. But my main influences in the 60s would have been Hank Williams, Jimmy Rogers, Merle Haggard, Buck Owens. Yeah, and then a little bit later, people who wrote great songs. All through my teenage years, I mostly listened to singers and songwriters. That's what I was drawn to. So I listened to Elton John, Don McLean, and my favorite was Gordon Lightfoot. Right. So that's the kind of thing. And I think it was the natural evolution of my abilities and my knowledge was to learn about songwriting, because I fell in love with songwriting, and I wanted to be a songwriter so badly as I wanted to play the guitar as best I could. I really wanted to know how to write a song. And I can still remember to this day the feeling of fear in me when I first went out to play one of my own songs to an audience. Yeah, I was...
Acceptance.
It was like, what's it going to go over like? What's it going to be like? Is it good enough? And all that sort of stuff, And one of the first songs I wrote, would you believe, is a song called Dixie McGuire. And it ended up on the album with Chet, and Chet loved that song. And when I wrote it, I wasn't sure if it was any good or not,
Can you play it?
And I can play a bit of it, yeah. But a friend of mine, a well-respected songwriter from Los Angeles, heard the song, and I said to him, look, be honest, is it any good? He said, oh, it's good. He said, and a good song will find a good home. And I said, well, I hope you're right. And sure enough, he was right. It found it on the album. So when I wrote this song, I was trying to write something that I could send to Chet, and in the hope that he might record it. So it's very him, okay? So
I hear so much of Chet.
Oh, absolutely,
That's great. I want to take back a few years when you were a child. You started at 4, and you had a very, very unusual life where you lived in a car, basically.
Basically, in a car or a tent.
Tell us that story, please.
Well, I'm one of 6 children, and I was the youngest musician. Yeah, my eldest brother was the drummer. Then my eldest sister played lap steel guitar, and she was very good. She had a good sound, and real traditional Hawaiian. And then my brother Phil, he was probably the most gifted of us all when we were young. And he was my inspiration. He was the melody player. I played the rhythms and bass and all that stuff. And when I heard Chet, then I started working on playing those tunes. And so then I was starting to play drums at that time as well. So in the show, because I was so young, I'd be tired, ready for bed by 9 o'clock, right? I could barely keep my eyes open because I'm busy running around being a kid every day, right? And most kids get tired by around that time. So I would play the whole first half of the show. We would open the show with instrumental as a quartet, and then a guy would come out and sing, and we'd back him, and he'd go off, and then we'd do some comedy. We'd do like a comedy sketch, and then I would play. We would swap guitars, and I would play something like, let's see. I'd play Little Green Valley by Marty Robbins or something like that. And then I'd play something on the steel guitar, like You're Cheating Hard or something like that. And then I'd play a drum solo and play. I'd play that. And the audience would go crazy, and I'd fall over and kick the drum over, and all this sort of thing. And my brother would come and pick me up and run off stage, and the curtains would go zoom. It was like a Muppet show, And then 5 minutes later, I'm asleep in the back of the car.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and that was normal life for us. And I had 2 younger siblings as well, and they were just babies. And so my mother took the ticket to the door and cooked and washed and cared for us all and provided with her. I don't know how she did it. We never had any money. We were always running out of petrol and stuff like that. We were running out of money.
But you always had food.
We always had food. My mother she could cook anything. She put your shoe in a pot of water and make it taste good. But my mother used to boil rice and mix it with powdered milk and sugar. And it was so tasty, and quite a few times that's what kept us all going, and I don't forget those times when I'm in a beautiful place like New York City where we are today, and there's so much abundance around us. I look at it and say, I know you're there, and I appreciate it, and I'm so grateful that I can afford to go and buy a good meal, because I can remember when I couldn't. I haven't forgotten that. Right. And you've got to be grateful for everything around you.
And you're making your living doing what you love.
Exactly. Which is really the key to being a happy person, is really go for whatever you love, whatever it is, you have to go for it, because life is not a rehearsal. This is a real gig, man, and you've got to get to it. Don't waste time.
You're a great inspiration. Your guitar is a Maton. I'm sorry, mate.
Yeah, can I tell you why it's called that?
Yeah.
Because the guy who started building guitars in 1946 was Bill May, M-A-Y, right? And so it's half May, and they took the E off tone, so Maytime.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like the Martin of Australia. And my first guitar was a Maton. 1959, I got a Maton guitar. And there's that guitar is in the museum.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, they're going to stuff me and mount me in there one day too.
Well, you're a treasure in Australia. And you are here as well in the States, but you're a national treasure over there. You were given...
Well, I wouldn't go using the term like that.
No, you were actually given an honor.
I was made the Order of Australia, which is the highest honor that a country can give you that is non-military. I mean, I didn't run into a burning building and save a baby, and I didn't go and shoot 1,500 enemy guys and blah, blah, blah. But I gave my life to making people's lives better through music.
Yes, yes.
And that's what I love.
And that's the equivalent of being knighted in the UK, it really is.
Yeah.
And Chet Atkins gave you quite a great honor.
Yeah, the certified guitar player,
which is only one of 5. The CGP.
Yeah.
And there's you and 4 others, I think, and that's it, right?
3 others.
3 others.
Actually, no, there were 3 others. There are only 2 others now.
Oh, one.
Paul Yandel died.
Oh, okay. Living, so.
Yeah, living is Steve Warriner and John Knowles and I. Okay. That's it. And that's the end of it.
Yeah.
When we go, there won't be any more.
Now, you tour 300 days a year.
But boy, you've done your homework.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, you're one of my favorites. Yeah, it's in my honor. So, what's the road like?
The road is fantastic. Mm-hmm. It's hard work, and you're either dedicated or you're not. You know, you can't do anything on the road half-heartedly. There's no such thing. You know, like when I come here to talk with you today, I'm excited because I love talking about my life and I love playing and I love interacting with people. But I know I'm going to have to do this a few times today, and in my head I'm going, at 3 o'clock I've got to be going, I've got to rest, because tonight I'm going to give it hell.
You're a B.B. King's.
Yeah, I'm a B.B.
All
King's.
by yourself.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
But the road, the lessons I've learned is not to burn myself out, not to drink heavily on the road, and to eat well and rest. Because the rule, when people tour with me, I always tell them the rule is, if you can get a nap, take it. Because you're going to need all your brain power to do what I do.
Your heavy touring schedule a few years back put you in the hospital, am I correct?
Yeah, with blood pressure.
Yeah.
I inherited blood pressure, and so, but I take good medicines for it.
You did?
Yeah. I had to cut down stuff like red wine because it makes your blood pressure go up. Oh. And I didn't know that. Doctors used to say, to take a glass of red wine, it'll help you, blah, blah, blah. I know they do, and it's wrong. If you go to a heart specialist, the first thing he says is, don't drink red wine, it'll make your blood pressure go up. Okay. So that's the truth.
And you're thin. You're thin and in good shape.
Well, I'm trying to be. Every morning I have a smoothie. I carry a Nutribullet on the road, right? And I make a smoothie with super greens, with chia seeds and protein powder, banana, apple, that kind of stuff, and avocado, and I whip it up and bang down the hatch. Yeah, it's so good.
And it keeps you alert and young.
Yeah.
The new 50, the new 60 is...
Yeah, I'll be 60 next year.
Oh, God. Happy birthday.
Thanks.
But that's the new 40, I think, today.
Well, it seems that we, in this day and age, we have the opportunity to live a lot longer, not only because I think we're more conscious of our health, but, the previous generation, everyone smoked. Everyone had so much stress and heart problems, and they didn't have half the medicines and knowledge that we are blessed to have nowadays.
Yes.
And also, no one tells you, relax, don't worry about stuff. What's the point of worrying? What are you afraid of? No one says that to you, and people have spent half their lives being stressed themselves because no one's told them, look, it's okay to not worry about that. Just because your mother worried herself to death doesn't mean you have to do it.
That's right. Yeah.
You're a very calm man. You're a calm person to be around. And I'm a bit ricochet rabbit. I bounce off the walls, but I do it in a very calm and loving way.
But you put it through your guitar
too.
Yeah, I heard worrying is paying on a debt that you don't owe, or something like that. I probably messed that up.
Yeah.
But could you play another for me?
I could definitely play it. Let me play something a little different. Here's a song I wrote in Africa, and I love this melody, and I love playing this song. I've played it a lot, but I never get tired of it. It's called Mombasa. Or the lyric that comes into my head is... the song sort of tells me that we've been away and now we're coming home to our family and our familiar place. So now we're home again, kind of thing. So check it out.
That is really good medicine.
That's good.
It just makes me feel great.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Now let's move to the present day. You've departed what you're doing to go more jazz. You did a CD a few years back with Frank Vignola.
With Frank Vignola and one with Martin Taylor.
And recently with Martin. Tell me about both.
Well, first of all, it stems back to Django and Les Paul and people like that. I fell in love with that music. When I first heard Django, because I was so uneducated, I actually thought it was circus music. I didn't know what to make of it. I knew every now and again I'd hear a flurry of licks and I'd go, holy moly, what's that?
And that's with, what, three fingers, right?
Yeah, two fingers.
Two fingers.
Yeah. If I want to play like Django, what I do is I hold two Sharpies in my hand, like that, and play with the two fingers that I have. So my fingers have to hold the Sharpies so they don't drop them, and then I can play with the two fingers. So that's the way I do that. But so I love that music. I love the rhythm of it, because I'm a rhythm nut, you know. And then it's not that easy to find great players who love playing the melodies and who play them from their heart. And, you know, both Martin and Frank definitely do that, as does John Jorgensen and guys like that. Their heart is so in it. And they're the guys I want to hang with, you know. And I love being the rhythm guy. So when I play with Martin, we work out stuff together, but I let him do a lot more improvising. I do a lot more of the backing because I love it, you know. So when we're playing tunes like 7 Come 11 by Charlie Christian or something like that, I'll play that. Then we play that stuff together, and that's what I love doing, you know.
Yeah, straight ahead swing.
Oh, and Benny Goodman's music is off the chart.
Right, well, Charlie.
Isn't it? And Count Basie Orchestra.
Count Basie with Freddie Green.
Young players who want to get into jazz, I mean, first of all, everybody wants to listen to Pat Metheny because he's got so much good music, and Pat is such a shining light for the younger generation, you know. And I know he has a big love for music right back to Louis Armstrong and Ella, and you know. But I think every player that I've met all feel the same way, that it was Freddie Green who turned us on to great rhythm playing. And with Frank Sinatra live at the Sands, with the Count Basie Orchestra, that's one of the greatest lessons. Just listen to that album and absorb that music, those arrangements and the chords and the feeling of it. And you know it's recorded with 2 microphones, and that's it.
That's it.
And the internal balance of the band and everything. It gives me chills when we're talking.
The guitar was originally just a rhythm instrument.
Exactly.
That's what it was made
It wasn't until Charlie really made it a front. You know, God bless Charlie. You know what a guy he must have been, and he died so young. This is what I'm talking about. I think it was TB that took him out, and so, you know, we have a cure for that stuff now, but we didn't then.
Same with John Coltrane, and Charlie Parker, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Any influences from outside the guitar?
Pianists? Oh, definitely.
I hear
a lot of piano.
You do a lot of rags, so.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. But I also I love how piano players play, what do you call it, substitution chords with melody. So I was always drawn to trying to steal stuff from piano players. So, for instance, I was at an airport somewhere, and it was a cocktail bar, and there was a piano player, and he was playing Moon River, and he did this thing. He went, and then he went, and I just immediately said, I'll have that. That's mine, you know. I stole that idea, and then I put it here. So forth. And I love all that stuff, you know. And it was guys like, let's see, Barney Kessel that I really loved. His phrasing and his notes and everything. I remember seeing, I had a jam with him one time in Australia. With Barney. And Barney did, he said, let's do Misty in E flat. And instead of going, right, how he goes, and then resolved it. He went straight to the D major. Look at me. Wow. And it totally bent my ear, you know. And these are, if you don't hang out with kings like that, you don't get all these great ideas. You know, and the same thing with Joe Pass and Herb Ellis and all those guys. I mean, I was like a sponge around guys like that.
A friend of mine, Jackie King, who I've got to play with several times, told me he was with Herb Ellis in an airport, and they were going to meet that great fingerstylist from Canada. I can't think of his name.
Lenny Bro.
Yes. And
genius.
And Jackie said to her, you know, Lenny's a great player. And he said, well, if the two of us meet him at the same time, he can't be better than both of us. So
Can't be better than both of us.
Yeah.
He was. He was better than all of us put together.
Wow.
Yeah. Lenny was Chet said Lenny was a comet passing through. You know, he was burning way too bright for his own good. And some people are just like that, brother. I have known many people in my life who I wish I could just say to them, just stop and think about what you're doing, because you're not going to do this for very long the way you're going.
Yeah,
you know?
just races.
Yeah, and they're, you know, they, instead of doing it to 100, they do it to 1,000. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, staying up late, you know, it's just,
Maybe
it will destroy.
Also, some kind of clinic on just living with music as well. You have how many instructional DVDs?
I don't know. I've lost count.
I hope you're getting paid.
I hope I am too. Well, I just keep moving, trying to move forward and try to get better at what I'm doing and get a fresh look at everything I'm doing every day.
Well, that's the one thing on PBS you said that in your concert, that you just want to get better at what you're doing.
That's it. That's all I care
and
about.
And of all the legends I've sat next to, I don't see a level. I mean, I hate to ever compare anybody. Everybody's different.
No different.
But you are. I don't know how much better you could get. What would that be? Where can you go?
Oh, well, I can learn a lot more. I mean, the people who have incredible knowledge, like Frank Vignola, I mean, he knows so much more about the fretboard than I do. You know, I'm looking for it. He knows where it is.
Okay.
You know. But and there are guys out there. I mean, do you remember a guy like Joe Dioria or you know, Tal Fowler and people like that? Watch them play, and it's like, you know, it's blues based, but where did they get those ideas from?
You did something. I saw Tal. I was in a small bar with 6 people, and you did something that he was a master of, and you did it with Martin Taylor, and that's false harmonics.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when you did the Years of You. Just sends chills to you.
Well, that comes from Chet Atkins. He is the guy who invented that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, and Lenny perfected it.
But you make it look so easy. You have to be actually
make it look so easy. Look so clean. He moves like God's immaculate machine.
But you have to, for people that don't do that, you have to be exactly 1 octave higher.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I'll show you how it works. It sounds better with a thumb pick. Because if I do it with a pick, I make a noise with the pick on the fretboard there. But basically the principle is I'm plucking the harmonic with my thumb there. You know these harmonics? Yeah, right. Okay. Now, if I want to make it a major seventh, I'll just do this. If I want to play a nice sound, I can get. It's a beautiful sound. You know, I wanted to make that sound so bad because I heard Chet doing this, right? And I wanted that sound so badly. I could almost taste it, you know, but I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't unlock the mystery of it. And one night I had a dream, and in the dream, Chet Atkins came on the stage, and he did the playing the harmonics in my dream. And when I woke up, I knew I could figure it out, and I did it. So the answer to that, I think, is my subconscious figured it out and showed my conscious.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Or Chet actually transposed himself and showed up in your mind.
Yeah. Well, there has to be an answer to that mystery, but there has to be a logical answer. But I think that's what it was. And then I started working on being able to use that. I figured out playing scales.
So you're playing a scale in a chordal form, like almost like an arpeggio, but with the scale.
Yeah. See that? Yeah, so I'm trying to do things. I'm also trying to invent new ideas with it. For instance, I have an arrangement of Secret Love where I fret one note and force the harmonics against it. So, like that. So I go. You see that? Yeah, then. Then I do. So I'm trying to do new things with it, you know. I'm playing a shape like that I'm pulling off there, which gives it. You know.
And this is all by ear.
Yeah, I'm just working it out. Yeah. I'm constantly looking for new things.
What would you say to somebody just starting out on the guitar? What advice?
Just starting out, okay. Go slowly, learn songs thoroughly, find some good songs to play, simple songs. Know your limitations, find your strengths, and work on your ear training. Listen to the music and try to visualize the chords and the sound and all that, and go slow with it. It's going to take you ages to get your hands to do what it is that you can hear in your head, you know. And one of the things that people forget is it never starts out as music. It starts out as skill. So you're learning new skills. Then you've got to practice those skills until your hands know what to do, and then suddenly your focus goes to the music, and these skills that you're working with suddenly become music. It's like magic. But it starts out as skill first. And you know, I remember when I was working out stuff like Lady Madonna, where I had to play, my goal was to play the piano part and the singing part at the same time. I thought, right. So I can play that easily now because I've been playing it a long time and I practiced it, right? But when I first started out, I had to baby step it one bit at a time. I had to go. I get that far, now practice that and practice that over and over and over. Then move on to the next bit. Right? And then put those two together. And this is all new skills. I'm training my hand. My brain is working it out and training my hands. Now, when I've got it all right, now I just sit and practice the skill of it. I practice and practice and practice. And then all of a sudden, I'm not thinking about my hands anymore, and I realize I'm listening and the music's starting to feel good. So now I can turn all my focus and my energies on playing the melody well. So, Lady Madonna, children at your feet, wondering. So I'm not even thinking about my hands, what they're doing. I'm talking and playing two separate parts because I practiced it up. That's the key.
Since we're at the Peter Max Art Studio, the Beatles artist, would you do some Beatles for me?
Oh, absolutely. So let's see.
Interviews, but I would like to talk just a bit more. You were a sideman for some very famous groups.
Yeah.
Air Supply being one of them?
Well, I was a studio musician. I played on everyone's records. Even a lot of them that I didn't get any credit for because I fixed up guitar players' parts that were out of tune. Like, I remember fixing all the guitars on Davy Jones live in Japan. You remember Davy Jones from the Monkees?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, there was a live recording and the tapes ended up in Sydney. And the guy called me and he said, "Can you come and fix this up? It's all out of tune." And Davy sang great. The band were really good, but 3 guitar players, all out of tune. I had to replace all the guitars and make it sound like them. And so I could tell, okay, he's got a Fender twin amp. It's kind of a little harsh, and I matched his sound, and I put it in tune, and stuff like I used to do stuff like that. People used to call me because I was fearless, I was inventive in my own way, and I was not afraid to try anything. If someone wanted something that sounded like Jimi Hendrix, I could do that. If somebody wanted it to sound like Larry Carlton, I could do that too, you know. And so that was what got me a lot of work, was that kind of fearless, I'll have a go at anything. I don't care if someone thinks it's, I wouldn't say a musical prostitute, but I would say reaching into my bag of tricks like Felix the Cat. Sure. And I loved the challenge of that.
Yeah. You know, well, that's an art. It's an art to do something.
Yeah. I learned so much from it.
Sure you did, sure.
And so that's how I made a living.
You also met at work.
Yeah.
John Denver, is that correct?
I toured with John Denver.
Okay.
And in fact, that was a wonderful tour, not only because John Denver was such a great person, but he had James Burton and Jerry Sheff with him. Yeah, the bass player from Elvis's band.
So what were you, second guitar?
I was the opening act.
Oh.
I opened the show, and then after the first show, dig this, we played to 20,000 people a night. John Denver in 1988 was one of the biggest stars in the world. And so this was a major tour to get on. And the first show I came out, really to the public, I was a complete unknown. Nobody really knew me as a solo act, right? So I came out with my acoustic guitar, playing all this stuff, and it went over really well. And so the first show, I came off stage, everything had gone, I'm sweaty and, you know, all that sort of stuff, and excited after the first show. I came into my dressing room, and John Denver's sitting there in my dressing room, and he said, "Well, boy, that was good." He said, "I want you to play this song with me." And he'd written a song because he married an Australian girl, and he wrote a song called "Sing Australia," and he wanted me to play in it. So he invited me into his show, which was such a nice thing to do. But on that tour, I got to know James and Jerry, and it was amazing. My album debuted in the top 10 because of that tour. And because of that tour, all the promoters saw me in the best light, kind of thing. And so then the next thing, I got offered Joan Armour Trading Tour. And then in 1990, I opened for Eric Clapton. And that just raised me up.
Sure.
And Eric was so nice to me. His whole band, him, Nathan Easton, Greg Fillinganes, and just a great band. And
so your mother was right. You had a destiny, and you fulfilled it.
Well, I really believe it. I believe that you got to turn up, dress up, and do your best, and you never know what's going to happen. Look where I ended up today. So,
Tommy, it's my honor of honors. Would you please play out?
Okay. Let's see. Play something to take us out. All right. I'll play a little bit of The Endless Road, which is the story of my life, is in this song.